Everyone, I am back with Gino Herring. Hey Gino.
Good morning. How are you?
Great, how are you?
I'm wonderful.
So Gino, if you don't know him, he's a real estate agent, but he is also a financial services professional with MassMutual, right?
MassMutual Coastal Wealth, yes.
Great. So today we were going to talk about, dude, where's your retirement plan? Gino, why don't you give us a little background on why we thought this would be like a good topic?
Well, I guess the best way to start off is planning is best in any scenario, and I think that the more we do that, the more we actually stick to a game plan, the better we are off in facing things that are unforeseen, like circumstances that just pop up. And let's
Mhm.
face it, rainy days are always going to be there. So
Yeah.
we always just have to just think that way. And the more logical we are about our planning, the better off we'll be. So that, in a nutshell, is just the best way to go.
I also noticed that when I speak with other agents, it's like, many agents have been in the business for 20, 30, 40 years. And I'm like, are you thinking of retiring? And they're like, what do you mean? Like, no. And I'm like, but do you have anything like saved or they don't, as a group, I feel like we're missing this piece of it. We're not really thinking about having a retirement plan. And there are a few brokerages that offer some version of a retirement plan, but most of them do not, right?
Right. I think it's up to the individual, but also up to the actual brokerage firm to outline certain strategies. And for the most part, if the individual requests that, then they can outline specifics relative to that person or the individual's goals in life.
Yeah.
Uh,
So we wanted to talk about today. It's like we know people don't have a retirement plan. So we wanted to get some like tips and strategies from you about like what do we need to think about? I mean, I feel like we all know why we need to have one, right? Like
right.
we
Yeah.
know we need to have one, right? Like,
Yeah.
but putting your head in the sand and then waking up when you're like 50 years old and being like, crap, I don't have one yet. It's just
Yeah.
better to do it now, you know?
It's like that Flintstones cartoon where Fred wakes up next to the tree. He's an old man. He's got the beard, and he realizes that Pebbles and Bam Bam are fully grown with their own kids. He's missed out on his whole life.
Yeah.
We all imagine that somehow happening to us, but we don't really take those steps to make sure that we can live our best lives, for lack of a better term.
Yeah. And I know like when I'm with meet with a financial planner, it's you can really look at the numbers and say based on your current life, this is what you need to have based on what investments you already have. This is what you need to invest more in or do whatever in order to continue living the same life when you're not working anymore. So what are like how like tell us more about like what we need to think about, how the process works.
Well, we usually start with four main questions, I guess, and it's again they're all relative to each individual, but
Hmm.
everyone has a goal in their mind. They all have the movie in their minds of how
Yeah.
their life is going to be played out. But that movie gets interrupted a lot. So we
Yeah.
ask them point blank. We say, "What is happening to my retirement plan? Will I still be able to retire?
Right.
What happens to me and my family if I lose my job? How will this market volatility impact my ability to send my children to college? Things like
Hmm.
that." And
Hmm.
lastly, our greatest asset, time. But aside from that, as a mortgage in your home, your purchase of a home, what kind of protection is there for that? Should I lose my
Hmm.
job? What's going to happen to my mortgage, my house?
Right.
So
And I
those are
think for us, it's like, I mean, yeah, there's a possibility of like us as real estate agents, like losing the job, but it's also more about like, what if we're unable to perform it?
yes,
Or we
that's
don't,
another.
or we just don't feel like doing it anymore.
And working for someone else usually, kind of tips that scale for us. We're like, oh wow, I really want to have my own goals and be able to focus on them on my own. I don't want to have a boss. I want to be my own boss, kind of thing. And then that independence kicks in. But then again, we're like, well, what if I lose my structure? Am I able to perform these things on my own and keep my own structure? And that's where the sort of haziness comes into your goals. Can I meet them?
Right.
So,
Yeah. Well, I mean, we all deal with that being business owners anyway, right?
right,
Like as real
absolutely.
estate agents, that's part of the gig. But I think, okay, so let's say, the average real estate agent is, I don't even know how old. I believe they're like in their 50s.
Yeah.
They don't have really any investments or don't have like a retirement plan. What's like the best place to start?
Best place to start really is to think about your current income and to
Hmm.
write down some goals. I would say a first goal setting to be aware of is your short-term goals. What do you want to accomplish immediately? And that's maybe like the next 12 to 48 months.
Hmm.
And then after that, we're looking to see a 5 to 10 year goal. Where do you see yourself retiring? Because in that mid 50s group, folks, they're going to be looking to retire soon. And
Right.
then after that retirement, long range, 10 to 20 years, those are your golden years. Those are your time where you want to enjoy yourself and just be able to live as freely, as independently as possible. And those are three real scenarios that can be met if you kind of set your feet in the right path to meeting those goals.
Sure. I think too, like, I'm a proponent of like living your life now too, but like to your point, like the quicker that you meet with a professional like yourself and go over the plan and look at those goals, you begin to feel more in control of your day-to-day activities and making money and how many sales you need to do in order to like get what you want and enjoy your life now also.
Yeah, and that's a good point. How much independence do you want to have? How much do you see yourself traveling? How much do you see yourself being a homebody? And I
Hmm.
think the eye opener that we usually use is, right now we have 5 days in a week because we consider Saturday and Sunday. That's our really retirement relaxing time. But when you retire, every day is a weekend because you don't have, uh, you know,
Realtors work sometimes on the
right, right,
weekends
right.
too.
Right, right. Yeah, oh, absolutely. Sometimes more, actually more on the weekends. But when you retire, it's every day is pretty much a weekend or a day off
Hmm.
because there's no real responsibility to a job format or a responsibility to meet that bottom line or to, perform. And so we're thinking about going to the mall. We're thinking about spending, and
Hmm.
spending usually occurs more on those times when you're not, trying to make the money. You're trying to actually get some groceries or try to get a new pair of jeans or get
Right.
that new pair of shoes you see. So the spending becomes the real obstacle, is how to realize that, when I don't have money's coming in, how can I still be able to spend every single day, or
Right.
can I spend every day?
Right.
And so once we put those perspectives into place, people start to realize, well, you know what, I might think about what I want to do when I retire. Am I going to want to travel, or am I going to want to stay home, or I want to move somewhere else? That's
Right.
all going to be a part of the plan.
Yeah, definitely. So if people were going to make like one change, like I guess I don't know if I'm asking this right, but if people want to make like one change today in order to begin saving for retirement, that's going to make like the biggest impact.
Yeah.
What would that be?
The biggest impact would be to sit down and figure out what kind of income you would need to be able to have a daily routine, and
Hmm.
that's just a matter of saying, look, I like to go to Spain once a year. Well, what's that
Hmm.
going to cost?
Right.
Or, you know what, I like to go and shop because I collect mugs. I want to go to an antique shop at least once or twice a month. What's that going to cost? What kinds of things does my wife or spouse like to do? Are
Hmm.
my kids going to be in or out of college by that time?
Hmm.
All these are individual things. Some folks have kids, some folks don't. Some folks have real um, solid goals of just keeping all my money in my bank. I just want to keep it and not spend it, and that's great. But other
That's
folks can
great.
see
I wish I
themselves
had
being,
that.
yeah. But other folks see themselves as being as extravagant as they are now, 30 years later, and
Yeah.
that will need some solid planning.
Exactly. Yeah, no, that makes sense. I think, and the way that a lot of these vehicles work is they compound on each other. So the
Right,
sooner, even if you're behind, the sooner you start, yesterday was better, today is second best. You know what I mean? Instead of waiting until tomorrow because
right,
of the way that interest is compounded on things. And then as real estate agents, I'm a firm believer in investing in your product. So having rentals or being an investor in some type of housing situation because that's what we do,
right.
you know?
Paying yourself first is always the best way to go.
Yeah.
You've got to understand that concept first, and understand that you are actually paying yourself when you put some monies aside. It's not just for a rainy day, but for anything, for health
Right.
reasons, for
Right.
things that mean the most to you, like college planning for your kids or even yourself. I actually, quick story, I actually graduated from UConn and I walked with about 300 people in line. At the very end
Mhm.
of that line was an 85-year-old man,
Oh
and he
yeah,
just
nice.
received his bachelor's degree. And
That's
his
awesome.
wife's, unfortunately, his wife's dying wish was for himself to get his bachelor's degree. And he went
Wow.
through 4 years of undergrad, starting at
Wow.
81 and finished at 85, and had that speech in line for all of us.
That's
It's
awesome.
not about when you do it, it's about what you do. And 5 P's, proper planning prevents poor performance. If you can
Yeah.
start planning and plan well, you're actually planning to
Yeah.
plan. If you're not
Exactly.
planning, you're planning to fail.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I get it, that's very true. I think too, you had mentioned like some of these vehicles are also some tax deductions too, which as realtors we all like, you know.
Right,
So
right.
it's worth having a conversation with somebody who knows because everybody's situation is a little bit different. So where are you licensed? Which states or how does that work?
I am licensed in the state of Florida currently,
Hmm.
but my team, I have a team of folks that are licensed around the country. So
Okay.
we can pretty much work and help and assist folks anywhere in continental United States, even some folks internationally. But
Okay.
most importantly, I do work in the state of Florida. I do work with a lot of realtors and 1099 folks because we know the struggle.
Yeah.
We know the ins and outs of planning for ourselves and what if that commission isn't coming this month and those
Hmm.
kinds of pains for us.
Right.
And as well as small business owners. A lot of times you have a partner that you're in business with, whether it be a mom and pop grocery store or some kind of dry cleaning laundry place. There's a key person that you really couldn't contribute without. That person is going to be there with you. But if they're not, what happens if they're not? We talk
Right.
about those kinds of things.
Yeah.
We also talk about the longevity of companies and how to build and keep all of the funds towards the very next day and push on forward. So those are conversations we have. And 1099s, a lot of times they don't have the benefits per se that a full-time salary
Right.
would give you. So we talk about those kinds of things as well.
Cool. So what's the best way to get a hold of you?
Best way to get a hold of me is gmh54 at comcast.net. That is my real estate through the United Realty Group.
Okay.
And also through MassMutual Coastal Wealth, I'm at gherring at financialguide.com.
Awesome. Thanks, Gino. I'll see you
Thank you
next
very
time.
much, Jennifer. I appreciate it.
Bye.
Bye-bye.